everybody. Happy Wednesday and welcome back to another Wednesday live training here in our group. I am so glad you're here. Sorry, as always, I'm waiting. Facebook just does this thing. And what's funny is that when I rewatch the videos, I know that you can see me when I'm saying, hey, everybody, but Facebook does all this weirdness and it says I'm not live, and every time I go live, I have to deal with this. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. We are here this week. We are talking about stress. And I feel like, I don't know, it feels like now more than ever before, stress is becoming a bigger and bigger and bigger issue. And I don't know if it's just something that we're willing to talk about more than in the past. I guess mental health type things seem to be a little less, stigmatized maybe these days. And so maybe we're just talking about it more. But it feels like the topic of stress is just constantly coming up. And it's something that so many of us are dealing with. And like I said, I don't know if it's just that we're talking about it more or if it really is just a more stressful time in the world. I don't know, but whatever the reason is, it's an important conversation to have. And I personally, many of you know that I have personally had a lot of struggles, I guess, lately where stress is concerned, mental health kinds of things. About a month and a half or so ago, I just literally packed up my car and drove to the beach alone. I just needed a break. And so it's been coming up a lot in my check-ins with my clients and things too. So I thought it'd be a really important topic for us to talk about and hopefully learn from. So please, as we go, feel free to ask questions, leave comments, whatever, down in the comments. Maybe it's something you can relate to. Maybe you have strategies and things that have worked for you. Maybe you have questions about something that I say. Anything like that, please put that down in the comments in the chat or comment box down there. I think it'd be a really good dialogue to kind of open up and partly just understand that we're not alone. You know, this is not the kind of thing that any of us, it's not an isolation thing. It's very, very universal and we're all dealing with it. And I think it's just a good conversation to have. So please feel free to say whatever you got to say down in the comments. But okay, I've rambled long enough. Let's go. All right, so trouble falling asleep, feeling like you can never get caught up, getting sick often, getting headaches, constipation, diarrhea, afternoon fatigue, craving sugar or craving caffeine, waking up tired even after a full night's sleep, getting a second wind in the evening or at night, muscle aches, indigestion, increased heart rate, moodiness, nausea, I could go on. All of these things are stress related, and a lot of that probably sounds really familiar to you. I know a lot of it does for me. And I truly, I come into these lives and I feel like I want to have all this energy and I want to be great, but this particular topic is so heavy for me that even though I'm actually in a really great mood today, I'm kind of struggling with sort of how much to smile, how much to laugh, and how much to joke and play, because this is a super, super heavy, serious topic, and I don't want to water it down any. I want to make sure that the seriousness of this is coming through to you. So I'm kind of in conflict right now with how to handle this, but I am truly not being dramatic when I tell you that stress will destroy everything that is good. Everything. If you have not researched the topic, a lot of you would probably be truly shocked by just how much of your experiences and your symptoms and your feelings are actually probably more so tied to stress than they are any other health issue that you might be being treated for. And that if stress can get handled and kind of reined in, I'd be willing to bet a lot of medications that we're on, we could come off of. So stress makes losing weight difficult, if not impossible. Stress makes building muscle difficult, if not impossible. Stress causes issues with our blood glucose that leads to diabetes. Stress causes heart disease, potentially leading to heart attacks. Stress steals your sleep. It causes added hunger and cravings. Stress causes inflammation, which then leads to autoimmune diseases like Graves' disease, Hashimoto's disease, other thyroid-related diseases. It degrades our gut lining and causes food sensitivities. It causes bloating. It causes digestive distress like constipation and diarrhea, sometimes both in the same day. And that's just a few of the things that stress does to us. And however, I feel like that's enough for me to kind of help underline the importance of getting your stress levels under control. So I did make a guide that outlines some of these main ideas, as I have been doing for the last few lives. So please feel free to ask for the live down in the comments and I will send that to you. But let's start by talking about the hormone cortisol. You've probably heard me talk about cortisol a ton. This is not a new one. It comes up very, very often because a very shocking number of us are probably experiencing symptoms of high cortisol and maybe don't even know it. So cortisol is our stress hormone. In the right amounts, cortisol is actually a good thing. We need cortisol. However, high cortisol and chronically high cortisol, not good. Our cortisol levels naturally have highs and lows throughout the day. So if you can imagine, maybe, hopefully you do experience this and you don't need to imagine it. I don't think I do. This is something I can imagine. Around 8 to 10 o'clock each evening, you start to get tired. You start to go to sleep. You doze off peacefully. You stay asleep through the night. You naturally wake up around 6 to 8 a.m. You feel rested. You feel relaxed and you're ready for the day. I wish, right? Wouldn't that be nice? When we're getting sleepy at that 8 to 10 p.m. or when we're imagining ourselves getting sleepy in that 8 to 10 p.m. time, that's our cortisol naturally lowering, and it's supposed to do that. It's naturally lowering so that we're able to get sleep. It stays low through the night, or supposed to stay low through the night, and then it is supposed to naturally rise around that 6 to 8 a.m. time period to wake us up in the morning. So it has this natural low while we're sleeping, and it's naturally higher as the day gets started and as the day goes on. So that is how it is supposed to do. But when we have high cortisol or chronically high cortisol, we might struggle to fall asleep because your cortisol might still be increased at night and you can't sleep. It also might wake you in the middle of the night if your rhythm, your cortisol rhythm is off. You might notice that you're waking up in the middle of the night and you have a hard time going back to sleep. You might attribute it to hunger or having to go pee or whatever, but the fact is you should not be waking up in the middle of the night. Cortisol oftentimes is to blame for that. Sometimes adrenaline too, and we get to that later. So if you notice that you do have those kinds of sleep troubles, whether it's trouble falling asleep or trouble staying asleep and then going back to sleep once you wake up, that could be a cortisol issue. High cortisol also gives us those sugar and those caffeine cravings that we feel like we just need it to get through the rest of the day because our cortisol is constantly firing high, that it's exhausting us, it's fatiguing us, and we're hitting those afternoon slumps. A lot of you can probably relate to that. Cortisol causes us to store fat in our bellies, and cortisol also causes our bodies to become catabolic, making it difficult to build muscle. So if you're someone who's lifting or has goals for lifting or strength training, you might find it difficult to build muscle if your cortisol is elevated. Sometimes our cortisol can get so high for so long that our adrenal glands simply cannot keep up with the demands of pumping out that cortisol. And so then it drastically drops, which is also not good. When that happens, our adrenaline spikes to give our body the blood glucose that it's missing because our cortisol just dropped. And then that's not supposed to happen. So then your body responds with insulin to lower that blood glucose that the adrenaline just spiked up. And your body gets into this constant tug-of-war battle with these hormones. And it's, again, exhausting. It's fatiguing. And eventually you end up developing what's called insulin resistance. I do have, at some point down the line, a live about insulin resistance planned. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know, because I can, that at least will let me know it's something y'all want. I'm guessing at this point because nobody ever tells me what they want. So if insulin resistance is a topic you'd like to know more about, I'm happy to plan that. And I sort of have in the back of my head that I would like to. But that's sort of what's happening is our cortisol's dropping. the adrenaline is spiking, our insulin is pushing it down, and it just goes over and over, this tug of war with our blood glucose, which then causes our insulin resistance, which causes a lot of those other issues that I mentioned earlier, the belly fat, the trouble sleeping, all of that stuff. So with that said, now you kind of have the hormone background. So now what are some things in our life that might cause this high cortisol situation? And I don't want to feel like I'm stating the obvious here, because we all know certain things that stress, that causes stress. But there's a lot of things that a lot of people don't really consider that cause stress that are truly stressful on our body. So I'm not just talking about work and family. I'm talking about over exercising, particularly high intensity cardio. If you're one of these Orange Theory people, 4, 5, 6, 7 days a week, you're setting yourself up for a high cortisol problem. If you're constantly going to boot camps, if you feel like you're not getting a good workout unless you are dead tired, you've hit a wall, you're sweating to death, you're exhausted, you're probably setting yourself up for high cortisol, if not already in a high cortisol situation. Your body is not designed to do that on the regular. High intensity cardio is fine once in a while, and usually done in like 5 to 15 minute chunks of time. But when you're going to these hour-long classes multiple days a week, you're not doing yourselves any favor, and you might be noticing that you're actually not really achieving the goals that you think you set out to achieve. And that's not your fault. It's the fault of the exercise that you're choosing to do, and too much of it. That is a huge stressor on your body. Another thing is just your hectic everyday schedule. A lot of us are in this mindset of, oh, I'm not stressed out. This is just how my life is. Well, just how your life is stressful. So even if you're not feeling mentally like you're super stressed out, your body internally does feel like it's super stressed out. When you're going from one thing to another, you're picking up the kids at school, you're dropping them at baseball practice, you're running to the grocery store while they're at practice, you're picking them up again, you're feeding them dinner. Obviously, a lot of these are things we can't necessarily avoid, but when your life is like that, you have to understand that you are living a high stress life. When you have this hectic schedule where you feel like you never stop, that is high stress internally to your body. So it's not that you need to stop doing those things, but more so you need to make sure you're taking strategies to help lower your cortisol and help your body cope with the stress that it's under every day. I'm also talking about things like that nagging knee or shoulder injury that has been bothering you for years that you never got taken care of. When you have an injury, your body is sending antibodies and all of these things that are causing inflammation around that injury to try to heal it. And when we don't get our injuries treated for an extended period of time, that's creating a high inflammatory response inside our body, which is incredibly stressful in our body. So those nagging injuries that you're like, oh, it's fine, it's just been always hurting, go get that taken care of, because you're creating this environment in your body for stress. I'm also talking about some of the foods that you might be sensitive to, but you eat them anyway just because you like them. So maybe you're like, I can deal with, having gas a little bit. I really want to eat this. But it's not just I get gas a little bit. It's all the other things that are happening inside of your body, creating this stressful, inflammatory environment because you chose to eat this food just because you think it tastes good. You've got to decide, is it worth it? 9 times out of 10, guys, it's not worth it. So stay away from those foods that you might be sensitive to, whether it's dairy, whether it's gluten, whether it's sugar, whether it's, just certain types of fruits or vegetables and things. If you know that your body has a negative response to it, you've got to get rid of it. Cut it out. Even if you cut it out for a while you work to treat the stress issues and the high cortisol issues, and you can try to reintroduce it later, you might be fine once your body's in a better environment for that. But if your body is giving you negative feedback, you've got to let it go. You're creating a stressful environment in your body. Let's see, I lost my list. Oh, yes, that nightly glass of wine that you have because you think it's relaxing you, it's not. It's creating a lot of stress in your body. I did a live not too long ago about alcohol, And that nightly glass of wine that you think is relaxing just because it's alcohol is a depressant, it slows you down, right? It kind of makes you relax, maybe a little giddy, but internally your body's freaking out. So that's another huge stressor, especially for some reason I feel like drinking a glass of wine every single night has become normal. That's not normal. At least in my world, that is not normal. That's something that we shouldn't need or shouldn't have to do. Once in a while, sure, that's fine. But if you feel like you need to have a nightly glass of wine, some people say, I need a glass of wine to go to sleep. Y'all, think about what you just said. You need alcohol to sleep. There should be some red flags there. That's not normal. That's not a good thing. Internally, you are adding to your stress. You are perpetuating this cortisol cycle. So all of these things now combine all that kind of stuff with normal stressors like money stress, work stress, family, relationship, whatever stressors, and you are creating the perfect storm for chronically high cortisol, and you're setting your body up for this environment where we are going to end up with all of those negative effects that I had listed above, from digestive problems, heart problems, diabetic problems, belly fat, fatigue, all of that stuff. You're setting yourself up for it with these things here and there, these small details, the busy schedule, the glass of wine, the work stress, the whatever. All these things add up and pile onto each other and create this perfect storm. So what can you do about it? Some of these things you absolutely can help and you absolutely can stop doing, like eating the foods that create issues for you, things like that. Over exercising, you can certainly stop doing that. However, you can't necessarily just go quit your job, right? You might be able to take steps to find a different job or a different position in another department or something, but we all need to pay our bills. So no one's expecting you to quit your job. So what are some things you can do while you're going through these things to try to help your body cope and handle it better? So here's a couple. One is deep breathing. Deep breathing is incredibly powerful at any point in the day. I do deep breathing quite often. Actually, I just did 3 rounds right before I started this live. I deep breathe before I go to sleep at night. I do deep breathing before I eat food to help my food digest better. So deep breathing means one thing to pay attention to: where are you breathing? We should be breathing into our belly, not into our chest. So make sure you're taking big belly breaths. And a good example of a simple type of deep breathing is a big inhale for about 4 seconds. Fill up your belly as much as you can in 4 seconds, and then slowly exhale for about 8 seconds. Another great one is box breathing. And if you look up box breathing on YouTube, there's a bunch of like guided ones. It's very simple. You just breathe in on like a 4 to 6 count. You hold your breath for 4 to 6. You exhale for 4 to 6, and then you hold again for 4 to 6. But there's lots of different deep breathing things and guided deep breathing that you can do. If you look up on YouTube, you'll find quite a few. Deep breathing is fantastic for lowering cortisol even in the moment. Work to improve your sleep by practicing good sleep hygiene, like putting down your phone at night, maybe reading a book instead, like keeping your room as dark as you possibly can. Even think about covering up like power buttons on your TV and everything else that give light in the room. Think about blackout shades if you have street lights outside your windows, things like that. Avoid foods that cause allergies or sensitivities. That should be a duh, but we need to say it because I know y'all do it. Heal any ongoing injuries that you have. If you have had a nagging knee problem for the last 5 years, go make an appointment and get it taken care of. Also, getting enough omega-3s. So fatty fish or just taking fish oil supplements are great. Also, those help reduce inflammation in your body. There's a lot of fish oil supplements that you can get. Check to make sure that they say burpless on the container, on the supplement package, because the last thing you want is to burp up fish taste. That is no good, y'all, no good. There is a company, a brand called Granite that we sell at my gym. If you're local, you can get this at Iron House. Granite sells a fish oil that the fish oil is flavored, citrus flavored. So even if you do burp it up, it doesn't taste like fish. So that's a great one if you're interested. Make sure you're not over exercising, particularly with the high intensity cardio. Short bouts of high intensity cardio are great. We should not be doing it for an hour, and you should not be doing it for multiple days a week. Give up the Orange Theory subscription and go join a gym and lift weights. Walking is great. Low intensity cardio is fantastic. We gotta back off the high intensity stuff. Yoga is a fantastic strategy, a fantastic thing to do. You can look up yoga on YouTube, Yoga with Adriene and some others. I also really like ROMWOD, the website ROMWOD, ROMWOB. It's range of motion, workout of the day. It's about $13 a month, I think. And it's essentially yoga, but it's geared more towards people who are athletes. And so if you're someone who's like, I don't want to do yoga, because that's me, I'm not doing yoga, but I will do ROMWOD, even though it's literally the same thing, but they have packaged it in a way that makes me not feel like I'm doing yoga. Taking walks in nature. Meditating, you can also find guided meditation on YouTube. Also apps like the Calm app and things like that have meditation. Go to therapy, whether it's right here on your computer screen or you're physically going to an office, look into getting therapy. Stop drinking alcohol and limiting caffeine. We already talked about that earlier, so I don't need to go into more detail on that. You can also supplement with different things to help control stress. Ashwagandha is an adaptogen that's great for stress. It does, however, interact with like thyroid medication. So before you supplement with anything, double check with your doctor. Make sure you have no interactions with anything. But like magnesium glycinate can be great at bedtime to help you sleep. Ashwagandha, like I said, is an adaptogen that's also great to help with stress. And so there's quite a few different supplements out there, but like I said, make sure there's no interactions. So while none of these things I just listed are going to eliminate your stress, over time, it will eventually help you respond to the stress better. So you don't have quite that cortisol spike that causes all of those negative things that we talked about. You need to be consistent and you need to be purposeful with your efforts. You can't do deep breathing once every 4 days and be like, oh, this deep breathing doesn't work. Well, you're not really doing it right. So do it often, do it daily, do it multiple times a day, and you will start to for sure feel the benefits along with this, like all the other things we listed above. So when you're purposeful and you're consistent, every single thing you do is going to be step in the right direction toward a longer, healthier life. But you've got to be consistent. You've got to put yourself first. I cannot over exaggerate how important stress management is. It is literally killing people every day. Again, I don't mean to be dramatic. I don't think I'm being dramatic. It just really, truly is that serious. So please tell me what questions, comments, concerns you have. If you would like the guide that I made that kind of outlined a lot of these strategies and some of the other things, then just let me know in the comments and I will send that to you. And then again, if you have any other ideas for lives, please let me know what you got. I would love to make sure I'm giving you what you want from me. And I hope you have a great rest of the week. Drink your water, eat your protein, and go do something new and awesome this week. I'll talk to you later.